I know it's been a couple days since I blessed y'all with our last video, but I had to give a couple of things some breathing room to kind of play out first before we came back to y'all. Since our last video, talk about the Sonya Massey body cam footage that was released. Another story of an unarmed black person dying after placing a routine 911 call. All right, you white motherfuckers, all eyes on me. This is the I Refuse podcast. This is Mr. Fox of the I Refuse podcast. I am back. Didn't go anywhere. So since our last YouTube video, I'm sure by now y'all have seen the I don't want to word this. The erasure of Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey, back on July the 6th, literally 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago, who was living in Springfield, Illinois, called the local sheriff's office, 911 call. 2 white male police officers showed up in response. And, the body cam footage essentially starts from them literally walking up to the house and continues to play throughout. The police officers, the police officer who the body cam footage is, the perspective is captured from is from the police officer that killed her. And who this police officer is looking at first-degree murder, among other things. Now, before they even get into the house, I believe it was him that asked her, are you, something to the effect of, are you mentally okay or something? My antennas went up when I first heard that, because why are we starting there? And I thought, is there a history between these two? And I'm sure, as the days go on, through the rest of this week and into next week, I'm sure the sheriff's office or any investigators close to that represents the sheriff's office of the county will try to find something to undermine Sonya Massey. They'll probably try like a mental health angle. They'll probably try, pulling a call log, if there is one, of previous calls, and they'll be like, suddenly, I'm just theorizing, suddenly release audio footage of previous phone calls she's made and previous incidences that the sheriff's office may have had with her previously to that, to adjust the slant and attempt to take the heat off of the sheriff's office as to how is it that this particular police officer, the one that often unarmed black woman in her house, that was not a threat to him, he allegedly was moved around a couple of times the last 3 years, around police stations. Also the same police officer that when you look at the tattoos on his arms and his mugshot, some of the imagery they saying on the Bird app is a reflection of neo-Nazi beliefs, neo-Nazi history, essentially white supremacy. So when you do the math, right, if Johnny had 5 apples and we take away 4, what does that mean, right? More red flags go up from my perspective. For this man to go in already with a prejudgment that this woman is not okay because her 911 call was that she, thought somebody was outside her house, a prowler of some kind. And in the video, while they're still outside before they go in the house, they ask her about the window smashed out in her car and some other question around the car, which she's like, I don't know what that's about. Now, this could be possibly because I am a dare kid. In grade school, back when dare was a big thing, the sheriff would come down and sit in the chair on the stage in the auditorium or whatever and talk to us kids. Maybe it was too many years of watching Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street and, loving the PBS back in the day. If you're a police officer and you pull up to respond to a 911 call that a woman thinks there's a prowler outside, and when you pull up, one of the windows on her car is smashed out. One of the first questions out of your mouth to this woman is, are you mentally okay? Or something to that effect. You don't want to investigate why her window is smashed out? You don't, at no point in the body cam footage, either before they went to the house, and definitely not after he gunned her down in her own kitchen, did they even go over to the truck? Investigate that. But you got time, right? So they go into the house. She's sitting on the couch. And at some point, she remembers the stove is on. Or I think the cops pointed out. She goes over to the stove. And she reaches for a pot holder or a towel to get the pot off of the stove. So during the midst of those couple of seconds, she starts saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. When I tell you, it's like she knew there's something in this house with me that's just not cool. Words that are not threatening to you, words that are not the equivalent of, I have a knife on me, so I'm going to lunge at you. This woman's back is turned. This woman, when the cops start ordering, well, specifically the one that has that the footage is coming, from his camera, is yelling at her. He pulls his gun and has it aimed at her. She doesn't have anything in her hands. She goes down to the floor and bam. 2 to 3 shots to the face. So when I think of Sonya Massey and what I saw, I think of Breonna Taylor and how people were, even then, were like, still on that, you shouldn't be resisting. Breonna Taylor was asleep. You shouldn't be resisting. Sonya Massey was just trying to take a pot of water off the stove. And she was far away, distance-wise, to where none of that would have been an immediate threat. And she was already on the floor when the police shot her. Well, particularly this guy. I don't think the other police officer had his gun drawn. You know, it brings to my mind, like there's a special kind of prejudicial hate that a person must have to take it to that level in less than three minutes and say the kind of stuff that you say about a person of color in their presence. Like, you immediately think this person is a threat. So much so that you gun them down in their own kitchen. I'm telling you, believe me when I tell you. So, they arrested him. They're charging him with first-degree murder, which I think, if I'm being honest with y'all, is a long shot. It's definitely going to be hard to prove, even with the body cam footage. And what I think they're going to do is, I think the state or the sheriff's office or whoever over there is going to, while this guy's on his way to trial, offer the family a settlement. The family most likely will accept it. And next thing you know, the guy gets the charges dismissed or he's acquitted. And then it's on to something else. Very rarely, you know, Derek Chauvin was an exception. Very rarely do, and I don't know if it's something that is a state by state kind of thing, you know, it's not at a federal level, so it's not like everybody gets the same. The state, they're being tried by the state, which is why it is very important for a lot of you out here, when it comes to making an informed decision about who you vote for, to represent your city, represent your state, and represent you down in DC, that you brush up on, you know, a little bit of politics, a little bit of government, and most importantly, a little bit of law. You don't have to do all 4 years or 3 years that, you know, people pursuing a Juris doctorate would. But for those of us that got our school assignments back face up, we know what it is, you know, and we're just praying that the ones that got their school assignments back face down in class don't fuck it up for the rest of us. Now, I don't know. I think this is the first one out of Illinois that actually led to charges. So there isn't a frame of reference or context in like a previous case out of Illinois for me to say, oh, yeah, all this stuff will definitely stick. Because, like I said, laws are different from state to state. So the outcome could be in our favor and Sonya Massey's favor. If her family was smart, I wouldn't accept the settlement, because that is a loophole for the state to dismiss the charges against him. As somebody that's from Baltimore and saw how the Freddie Gray situation played out, but that's Maryland, not Illinois. So I don't know. It's still relatively early. I'm just telling y'all the outcome is different in some other states, particularly Maryland. So for, you know, it's a good beginning. It's a good beginning. I don't know if the alleged neo-Nazi connection and the white supremacy tattoos and all that other stuff will support, will help. I don't know. Um, I don't know, man. It's sticky. It's sticky. Because very rarely do you see, have I seen in my lifetime, I don't know about y'all, maybe somebody in the comment section can tell me, the the conviction of a person that is that has active neo-Nazi white supremacy beliefs is a police officer or a person with a gun. Um, you know, more than enough variables to say this could be a racially motivated attack that led to a conviction and a lengthy prison term. This could be the first. I don't know. Um, yeah, but that's wild. And another thing is like, what, this isn't the first time police body cam footage has been released. Um, how will this play into an argument against the police officer? At some point, when that started becoming a thing, that they would release the police body cam footage, and oftentimes, more often than not, it would lead to literally no justice. My question is, what would be the point in this case? Yeah, we all seen it. There's no denying that it happened, right? Question is, will this be part of the evidence? Will this be part of the evidence? And I don't know. It's a lot, and it's like literally, no pun intended, the smoking gun. And will that be used as evidence against the police officer? Because we've been outside for a while. We've seen cases where you could literally have physical evidence. You could literally have videographic evidence. But the one rule that you can't get around in a court of law is the burden of proof. For you to be convicted of first-degree murder, the opposing side has to prove that you did it with malice and you did it with intent. And I believe premeditation. So they will have to dig a little bit deeper on this police officer. Did he have a history at his previous positions at other police stations or sheriff's office while in the line of duty of similar levels of hostility, heightened aggravation towards people of color in domestic situations? Like they have to build or present a history or a pattern of these kind of situations or interactions involving this police officer and Black people and people of color. Just running down the list. We're going to keep an eye on this one too. Sonya Massey didn't have to die. But why would he, from the rip, ask her about her mental state? You think, Now, part of me is thinking he was asking that, knowing his body camera was on, to set the stage or the tone for what he ultimately did. Because there's nothing that, even with the body camera footage on, the body camera on, and the police officer knows it's on, let's not act like they're not going to try stunts, especially when you have neo-Nazi tattoos. You know, in short, it's saying, you know, to the rest of the world that white is right and everybody else is wrong. That he wasn't like setting the stage to justify what he did. And he even said some comments right after he gunned her down in the kitchen. Like, that bitch was crazy or something. Sir, she wasn't. We seen it. Child. It's going to be, the rest of this year is going to be wild. The rest of this year is going to be wild. I'm going to keep my black ass in the house. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris, of course. But y'all better get y'all shit together, or it's going to be looking like I Am Legend come 2025. And there'll be, unfortunately, if y'all don't get it together now, it's going to get even worse than it already is. I feel it in my bones. Even with everything we see happening around us, especially with the police, not all of them, but some of them, you don't have to worry about another black person rubbing you off the face of the earth. I'm just saying, like, Sonya Massey did not have to die, didn't have to die at all. And I know during the Life of the I Refuse podcast, we have been discussing a lot of things the last 2 or 3 years that didn't have to become a reality. But a hard head makes for a soft ass. If y'all don't get it right come November, we're all going to be fucked. This is Miss Fox, the I Refuse podcast. I will catch you guys later. Peace. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse.